Can you save money by switching to energy-efficient appliances? Now, thanks to the world's increased focus on climate change, electronics companies have created greener appliances in recent years. So when does it actually make sense to dump your old ones? Maya Fisher-French here to tell us more about this. Maya, good morning to you. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Now, that's the question. How do you calculate how much electricity your appliance is actually using?
I think this is a good starting point just to understand how this stuff actually works. So if you take your appliance out and on the back of it, it says 1,000 watts. That means that if you ran that appliance for an hour, it would use 1,000 watts per hour, or we convert that to say kilowatts. So it would be 1 kilowatt per hour. So 1,000 watts is a kilowatt. And if we go and we buy electricity, especially if you're prepaid, you'll know exactly how this feels. You buy in units of kilowatts. So for example, I went and actually did the maths, and with VAT, because everyone forgets VAT, it costs me R2.80 per kilowatt. So that means that if I have an appliance that using 1,000 watts, it runs for an hour, it's costing me R2.80 to run that appliance for an hour. So I think that's a good starting point to understand exactly what is it, how do you calculate that cost of that appliance.
No. And is there a big difference between a new appliance and one that you bought a few years ago? And should you switch to a new one?
So I've done the maths in my own home, of course. I always test this out on myself. And I think it really depends. You know, obviously, if you've got an old appliance and you need to buy a new one, go look at the energy efficiency. Incredibly important to look at that. But, you know, when do you make the decision to say, well, I could get it repaired, you know, or should I buy a new one? And I think on something large like an appliance that runs all day, like your fridge, it can actually be quite significant. I mean, I ran the numbers and for example, if your fridge is your new fridge would be 200 watts more efficient than your current fridge. So it would use 200 watts per hour less. That's running 24 hours a day. So that works out at about a 5 kilowatt per day saving. So I did the maths, and that's about 5,000 Rand a year at current electricity prices. It could go up. So then you started saying, well, I'm going to have this fridge for the next couple of years. I'm saving 5,000 Rand a year just on electricity. Yes, it probably makes sense. But then I looked at my washing machine and I thought, well, you know, even if I'm saving 500 watts per wash on it, my wash is about an hour, that's saving me about R1.40 per wash, you know, over a year, 300 Rand a year. I'm not sure if that's really going to make me go and buy a new washing machine. But one thing that makes a big difference on washing machines is whether you wash with cold water or hot water. That's actually, that's like totally different savings. So we actually run ours, we do all just cold wash, and I reckon we save about 700 Rand a year doing that. So I think when it comes to some appliances, just think about using them more efficiently, but something like a fridge, maybe it makes sense.
Maybe it does. Well, Maya, thank you so much for giving us these financial tips to consider. Maya Fisher-French, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was actually listening to you and Maya, and I wanted to jump in and say that the quickest way to see the difference as far as efficiency is for TVs, plug a large TV into a UPS when we've got blackouts and see how quickly that runs down. I was then fortunate enough to change my TV to an energy-efficient one, and my old TV would probably drain the UPS, and it's just the TV, that's it, nothing else.
Nothing else?
Just the TV. Maybe 2 hours, wouldn't even last load shedding. Change it to an energy-efficient, 6 hours. 6 hours. Yeah, the energy-efficient appliances these days are actually well worth looking into, especially because of blackouts. Keeps it on longer during load shedding.
All right, so